Hello and welcome back to this channel. Because my last animation video was actually well received, I thought I'll do another animation video this time, but not in Procreate, in Photoshop. So we will be creating this thing which you see on screen. Actually, I got this idea from Adobe website where they had a 1-minute tutorial, but it was not in detail. So I thought like a lot of you might like something where we go in depth and detail. So I had to create my own illustrations for this tutorial. I'm not using any of the things that Adobe provided, but I'll be sharing all those things with you and you can use them as well. And I would actually highly recommend that you download this first and then join me and work along to know how to get it done. So you'll need two things. One, an illustration. It could be any illustration. It need not be that of a girl or anything as such. And then you'll need a pattern. So I googled for psychedelic patterns and found something which I thought would be really nice, but it was a vector file. So I just trimmed it and I exported it as a PNG so that I could use it for this tutorial. You'll find that in the description box as well as a link from where I downloaded this, because we ought to give credit to them as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the girl.pst in our Photoshop. Let's bring the layer panel up and then just increases. So if you cannot see layers, you can always find it under window and then layers. By the way, this is the timeline. So once you open Photoshop, this is not something that you'll see. You can find it in timeline, that is window and then timeline, and this will open up. You'll know why I'm talking about this sometime soon. I'm just going to uncheck it so that it doesn't clutter our view. Okay, so basically we're going to apply pattern to this part of the jacket and this part of the jacket and maybe to the background as well, just to make it look nicer. So maybe we'll start off with the background. What do you think? Okay, let's do that. So you have the background here. So before you start everything else, you should go to Photoshop and then preferences. If you're using a Windows system, I think it's under file and then preferences. If you cannot find preferences, just go to this help and type here as preferences, and it'll show you all the different areas or ways in which you can get to that. So let's go to preferences and general, and this window might look different for Windows users. I'm not too sure though. You just have to make sure that this is unchecked, that is resize image during place, and click OK. Alright, now let's go to the background layer. You're not going to click on anything. First, we're going to place the image as an embedded image. Let's go to File, Place Embedded, and in here go to the folder that you have all your stuff. Okay, I have my pattern in here and this is my pattern JPEG. I'll place, and it is a little smaller than my artboard, so no problem. I'm just going to increase the size. This might actually damage the quality of the image, but because it's a tutorial, I'm just going to show it to you guys. You can also go ahead and make sure that your artwork is smaller or you have a bigger pattern, things like that. So anyway, I'm making sure that everything is covered like this. But the problem is that it's on the top of all the layers, so our girl is hidden behind that. So we're just going to drag and bring it slowly down here just above the background layer, and now we have it ready. Okay, it's time to make it into a moving background, and to do that we're going to go ahead and open timeline. Go to window and then click on timeline. Now let's click on create video timeline. And you can see that all the layers come up here, layer 10 or whatever. So it is perfect if you name your layers, but it's okay if you haven't as well. So anybody who's curious on how I created this girl, I actually drew this on Procreate and exported it as a Photoshop file, and then I actually took it into Photoshop. So you could do that as well. Now here we know it's the pattern 01 layer, so we're going to go ahead and do that. You'll get messages, that's okay. So let's scroll down. If you come here and if you scroll down, you can go all the way down, all the way till you go to the pattern layer. You can also use this button here and just scroll down, and you can come to your pattern layer here. Make sure the pattern layer starts at the starting point, and you see this header, you're going to move it all the way to 0. And let's move this a little bit so that this is like really tiny, and you can see that it is 5 seconds or whatever. So now there is a tiny drop down button here. Click on it. And if you scroll down, you can see something called as transform. And now we're going to click on it. It'll create a keyframe, which is this yellow dot you see right here. That's perfect. Let's go all the way to the end now. And now let's click on Command or Control T to get to the transform thing. And here you would click on this triangle button here. It says use relative positioning for a reference point. And in here, you can actually try giving anything that you want, but I'm going to give minus 500 and make sure the pattern does not come inside the background, like it's still outside. And then in here, we'll try to give it as plus 500. But you see the thing that's happening? I'm just going to increase it so that this does not cover, and then let's give it as plus 500 so it's still within the limits. And then once you're done, click on the stick, and now it's placed completely. So now if you go back here, you can see it move, but before that, make sure you go to the settings and click on loop playback. And now if you play it, so sometimes the first round it's a little bit slow, but once it makes one loop, it gets faster, like it gains momentum. You see that? That's how it's supposed to look. So you can do the same thing and apply it to like a jacket or something like that. So what I'm going to do now is show it to one side of the jacket alone. You can press stop here. My computer is acting up. So you should know this, that it takes up a lot of computational power. So be ready for all that noise the computer is going to make. Okay, so creating the background animation was pretty easy because it was like the whole background. There was no extra things in it. But let's try to do it for the jacket. So if you click on this jacket, it'll point you to the layer, and now we're going to add the pattern there as well. So file and click place embedded, and let's go ahead and pick that pattern, and obviously it'll cover up everything. So what we're going to do is make sure you arrange it so that it's a little down, a little more, so that it covers the nice nitty-gritty of it. Make sure it's right above the layer that you want to apply this pattern on, and then we're going to right click. But you get different things when you right click depending on where you right click. If you right click here, you'll get so many different things, but not the ones that you want. But if you right click on the name, you'll get something called as create clipping mask, and you can click on that and it'll automatically clip it to that particular layer image. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to add some animation to it. We'll make it move too, because you know, we like things when they're moving. So let's go back to this panel right here. I can actually increase this. I'm just going to do that so that you guys can see better. Okay, let's go ahead and find this pattern 01. It's right above layer 2. So we're just going to move, and the mine is stuck for a bit. So I'm just going to move this a little bit, and this is the pattern 01. And you see that it's been inserted at where our head was. So I'm just going to move this back all the way to 0, and then drag this pattern to make sure it goes and sits at 0. And now let's click on this button here, click on transform to create a keyframe, move all the way to the end. Now press Command or Control T to bring up the transform tool, and in here make sure this is selected. This again, you can give anything, I guess, but I think let's give it as minus 500 and plus 500. As you can see, we didn't have to worry so much about it going within the jacket frame or whatever, so it sits fine. And click on check here, and now if you go ahead and play this, you can see them move in the same direction. Okay, so our animation is ready, and now it's time to export it. Like I told you, you can change the variation, like you can change the direction in which it moves when you're actually giving in the X and Y over here. So instead of 500, you can give it something else and see how it behaves. Go ahead and experiment with it. It's totally up to you. So once you're done with this, you can export this. Go to File and then Export. And you can export it either as a video. That is, you click on Render Video, which is what I usually do because I like it in the form of MP4, because most of my systems don't recognize GIFs. Or you can go to Export As, and in here you have an option in the drop down menu which says GIF. You can try that out as well, but I would highly recommend going to Export and then Render Video, and then it'll give you where you want to save it and stuff like that, and you can go ahead and save it, and you'll have a wonderful MP4 ready for you. I'll show you. I made this in a different attempt because I wanted to check it out before I can actually show it to you guys. So let's look at this. And you can see the one on the left is moving really fast, but the one on the right is not moving so fast. Here the X and Y values were completely different for each of them, and it was not 500 at all. So I would highly recommend that you go try it out on your own and see what looks good on your image or illustration. So okay, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel so that you And don't forget to click on that bell notification so that you get a notification every time I post a new video. I hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and let me know if you want to see more animation related videos, because I create a lot of them using Procreate. You can also check it on my Instagram account, not the Print Me Some Color, but I have a new account called Think Beyond Color, where I usually post all my digital illustrations. So go check it out. Okay, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.